on Apple's iPhone, or on your laptop. We have a solution for any device. E-Edition is free for subscribers, or just $7.99 a month. The Bakersfield Californian. We're everywhere and anytime. Subscribe today. Bakersfield.com.
And now, from the Dignity Health Studio at the Bakersfield Californian, it's time to open up with Dawn and Tina, your favorite pair, on the air.
Welcome, everyone. This is Open Up with Dawn and Tina, and welcome to our studio audience and everyone around the world watching. This is Open Up with Dawn and Tina, and we have a fabulous program, right, Dawn?
We really do. We're going to talk about streaking through the skies. We're going to talk about, we're all concerned about where our government is going, government itself. We're going to talk about how to rein in government, make it more responsive to people like you and me, ordinary citizens. We're going to talk about this 500-year worst drought we're going through, and people that are coming together to try to stop it with special intervention. We're going to talk about that coming up next. But first, we're so proud today to have Steve Lloyd here from Steve Aviation and Bakersfield Jet Center. This is where all the folks with the private planes bring their planes into Bakersfield. And Steve, let's just ask the most obvious question and that is, most people that are watching aren't going to have their own airplanes. They're not going to fly themselves. They're not going to be pilots. Why should the general public care about general aviation and private flying?
Well, I think what most people don't
come right up to the mic. There.
Most people don't realize is that general aviation does a huge majority of the transportation of people around the country. There's over 5,000 airports, and the airlines only serve 500. The rest of the airports are served by general aviation. And anything from charter flights, where anybody can charter an aircraft and go to where they need to go on their time schedule, medical flights, organ transplant, all types of things that most people don't think about that general aviation takes care of.
Steve, I understand that aviation goes back a long ways in your family. Tell us about that.
It does. My dad fell in love with aviation after World War II and had a passion for flying, got into the business, and Lloyd's Aviation, Bakersfield Jet Center is celebrating our 56th year. Wow. I started flying with my dad when I was 8 years old, and it's been flying ever since. It's a passion I have also.
Since you were 8 years old?
Yeah.
Ooh.
I was with him. Oh. I wasn't by myself. He turned me loose when I was 15.
Did you get a ticket when you're flying 8 years old underage? Or there's no cop up there to arrest you?
Yeah, the fun part is he said, it's time for you to learn to fly. And I looked and I said, well, I can't see out of the airplane yet. He says, you don't have to see out of the airplane to fly. So I learned kind of reverse. I learned instruments first. And then at about 10 or 11 years old, it was, oh, okay, that's what it looks like. So anyway, that's how I developed my passion for it. And I currently have over 16,000 flight hours.
Oh, okay.
Steve, it's become such a hassle for the general public to fly. We got to go through all this security, take our shoes off, take our belts off, all that stuff. Boy, in the kind of flying you do, you just walk out the airplane, get on, and go.
You got it. You basically drive up, park in the parking lot, walk through the lobby, identify yourself. Our pilots meet you. You get on the airplane, the engine's starting within a minute. And we know all the people that are getting on our airplane, so it's not a matter if a group of unidentified people come together, and that's why TSA is what they are.
Is it becoming more affordable, and are more people choosing that option?
Yeah, they are choosing that option because it comes to the point with cancellations, with TSA, flight schedules are less now with the airlines. They have fewer flights, and the corporate community is realizing the asset of being able to go from point A to point B without going through connecting flights. Go ahead.
Well, no, I didn't mean to interrupt, but speaking of point A to point B, what's the distance you can travel?
Basically any place in the United States.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we have a corporation we fly for, and they get on the plane, and we have them in Minot, North Dakota in 2 hours and 30 minutes. To do that on the airlines is an all-day event.
Yeah.
Wow.
So when you have people on board that are the top executives of the company who are very expensive hourly, it makes a lot of sense to fly corporate.
If you just want to fly from point A to point B and not from point B back to point A, in other words, one way, is that still doable?
Yes, sure, we can drop you off at any location you want. You're paying for the aircraft to go and come back, but we do whatever you want. It's the airplane is being leased by you. It's your airplane. You can be one person or you can fill it up with 9 people. The price is the same.
Oh, okay. And do you find that a certain time of the year is your busiest?
When outside the holidays, we're always busy. In the holidays, it kind of changes over from business flights to personal flights, people going to visit other people and things like that.
Steve, as you said, your dad came back from World War II and fell in love with flying. A lot of guys came back from World War II. That was kind of the heyday, I understand, of guys learning to fly their own plane, general aviation. And then I understand, tell us about it. It seemed to drop off. Is it coming back? What's the trend now?
Really, I think one of the biggest challenges we have in aviation overall, whether it's general aviation or the airlines, is the lack of pilots that are being trained at the present time. It's hard to put a finger on. I mean, the passion for flying is still there, but there's so many other things that young people can do. And so we're really pushing hard to get people interested in being pilots because we have a huge amount of pilots that are right at that 60, 65 that are going to be retiring in the next 2 to 3 years. And we're going to have to fill those spaces.
Do you have an ideal age to get started?
8 years old. Maybe that might be a little bit early, but anybody, we've had students come out that have the passion, 15, 16 years old. You can have your license by 17. Wow. And it's quite a trek. You getting your private pilot's license like for a baby learning to crawl, and then you go to the next step, and you get your commercial and your instrument rating. Now you're walking, and then when you get your airline transport pilot rating, which takes 1,500 hours, which is the minimum for the airlines, you're in a full jog. So it's a process.
And there's no cutoff age then?
No, not really. The airlines retire as a captain at 60 and then as a co-captain at 65. So that's what the...
Now, this process you spoke about to become a pilot, to learn to fly if yourself or anyone else, how long is that going to take and how much is that going to cost?
Basically, learning to fly is about to become a private pilot, depending on how much time you want to devote, could be as short as 3 or 4 months or as long as a year. And the cost is anywhere from $7,000 to $10,000 to be a private pilot.
Okay.
That's very doable for me.
There you go.
Well, we got a Navy officer.
We'd love to have you.
Oh, we'd love it.
We got an adventurous Navy officer. What do you think, Tina? Would that be something you'd be interested in?
Don, yes. As a matter of fact, I was at a convention and there was they were teaching women. He was specifically targeting women to teach them how to fly a helicopter. But I like the little jet. Now, what type of aircraft are we talking about?
Basically, general aviation takes the whole spectrum from a small trainer all the way up to large corporate jets that can carry 15 or 20 people. You can fly any place in the world.
Like John Travolta loads up his family and flies them all over the world.
Yes,
It's really interesting.
he does. He has about 5 or 6 different airplanes from a 707 on down to a small corporate airplane.
Now, Steve, I understand there's a whole new class of airplanes coming online. Up in Tehachapi, for example, they're building the Icon. This you buy for like $150,000, which is a lot of money, but not a lot of money for an airplane. And you can trice the wings, haul it around like a boat, and back. It lands on water. Tell us about what's coming online for just the ordinary guy to go do some sport flying.
There's so many different types of general aviation. They have kits you can buy and build your own airplane. You can buy small airplanes like the one you're talking about that's built at a factory. And then you can go out and buy aircraft that are made in large corporate factories that are all certified. The biggest thing is the certification from the FAA to make sure the airplanes are safe and strong enough to be able to do what they say they're going to do. So,
I think people would be shocked to know how many private jets they're owned by companies here in Bakersfield. Just rough numbers. How many do you think there are?
Probably on our airport, I'd say there's 15 private jets, yeah. Not a great number. A lot more turboprops, which is another form of transportation, but it's kind of a no-brainer. When you look at the economic impact of how your company can be the first one to the new potential client, how your company can get to a situation, make decisions, and get back. You'll find the leading companies, and I think it was the number was in the top Fortune 500, 80% own corporate airplanes. That tells you something right there.
Yeah, I remember the hearings in Congress where the corporate guys under fire were criticized for coming in on jets, and speak to that.
Well, that was one of those things that the timing was terrible. It all happened at one time, and the politicians jumped on that situation and beat us up pretty bad. We're still recovering from that to a certain extent. Corporate aviation is a very, very important part of this economy. It creates over 1.5 million jobs in this nation and creates over $2 billion, $20 billion in revenue for the company. So that's big money.
And you're located out at Meadows Field?
That's correct, yes.
And is the general public welcome to come visit?
Sure. They're welcome to come out anytime they want to and take a look. And we bring kids out from classes and talk about airplanes.
Okay.
I've done a series with the Kern County School District on what's the math. And that was a fun thing to do, and just talk about my passion, aviation, and what makes an airplane fly. And kids love to see that kind of thing.
I would love that.
Well, Steve, thanks for being with us.
Do we
Chris,
have information on him?
You bet. I think
Yes.
we do. Chris, do we have? You bet. Let's put that up if we can. There it is.
Okay.
Read it
Bakersfield Jet Center by Lloyd's Aviation. The telephone number is 1-800-284-1334.
Steve, you've been a great guest.
Thank you very much. I appreciate
You're
the time.
welcome.
Give us a chance to talk about general aviation.
Okay.
So welcome.
Okay.
You're
Thank
welcome
you.
to come back anytime.
And when we come back, we're going to be talking about California's worst drought in 500 years and perhaps a way to end it. We'll be right back.
We do our research.
We're shoppers. I was hoping I could save money with Personal Express insurance.
We've had other quotes from other companies.
And in shopping around, it was the best price.
When she actually ran the numbers, I was shocked at the savings that I had.
I have checked around. Personal Express Insurance is less. They have great rates.
They're one of the lowest around that I've found.
Nobody can beat Personal Express Insurance.
Low rates with the local advantage. That's Personal Express.
Hi, Corey Costello here, host of Roadrunner Rundown, Tuesdays 10 to 11 right here on Bakersfield.com. Join us this week for a special live edition of the program from the CESUB Student Union. We'll have the pep band, the spirit squads. We'll talk men's basketball with head coach Rod Barnes. Also, baseball's in town, so we'll speak with head coach Bill Kernan and much, much more. It's a special on-location edition of Roadrunner Rundown, Tuesday 10 to 11 right here on Bakersfield.com.
Introducing TBC Mobile from the Bakersfield Californian. The most complete news, sports, weather, video, opinion, and lifestyle coverage in Bakersfield and Kern County. It's the easiest way to stay up to date on all things local while on the go. Read it on your smartphone or tablet. Download now by searching Bakersfield Californian in the Apple, Google, and Amazon app stores.
The Bakersfield Californian is a great read on the iPad, but did you know that the Bakersfield Californian is available on your Kindle Fire? Or how about Google's Nexus 7, the Nook? You bet. You can also read a full replica of the newspaper on your Android-powered smartphone, on Apple's iPhone, or on your laptop. We have a solution for any device. E-Edition is free for subscribers, or just $7.99 a month. The Bakersfield Californian. We're everywhere and anytime. Subscribe today. Bakersfield.com.
Kern Business Journal contains news and information from local business leaders and organizations. Topics include agriculture, health and medical, energy, real estate, and more. Visit KernBusinessJournal.com to find out how to subscribe or where to pick up a free copy. To inquire about advertising in the Bi-Monthly Business Journal, call 395-7586. Find us online on Facebook and Twitter, as well as on KernBusinessJournal.com.
And welcome back. We had a fabulous, exciting time talking with Steve Lloyd.
Makes you want to get up in the wild.
Oh, yes, Don. I'm ready to fly. And so we, look, just real quickly, I want to thank Denise Haddock. What a lovely arrangement Denise Haddock designed. And now an interesting topic, pray for rain.
You know, here in this part of California, we just go in cloudless skies. It's just always blue overhead, but it has become the worst water crisis that we've had in 500 years, the worst drought. And this is important because this valley, Kern County, for example, is the second most productive agricultural county in the nation. We feed so much of the nation with so many crops, and so when our orchards start to die and our vineyards start to go under and our crops no longer are possible because we lack water, it's not just a crisis here in California. It's a crisis for much of the world in our food supply. And we have with us here one of the true spiritual leaders of Bakersfield, and David Go, pastor and leader of Garden Pathways here in Bakersfield. And David, suddenly, almost spontaneously, coming up this Sunday, we have an all-city, all-church gathering to pray for rain. First of all, just tell us about what's coming up and when.
On Don and Tina, lovely to be here again. On Sunday evening at 6 p.m. at Harvey Auditorium, Bakersfield High School, numbers of local pastors and their congregations have combined with Kern Leadership Alliance Pray, and we're going to come together for an evening, not only a fellowship, but really to humble ourselves before the Lord and with one heart ask for His intervention in this water crisis. You know, as you've mentioned, water affects every single person in our community, every single person in our congregation, no matter what particular expression of worship your congregation participates in or what worship tradition it's from. Every single member truly is impacted. You know, we look at the potential crisis in agriculture. It's not only the owner of farms, but it's the thousands of people involved in all the way to getting that produce to the grocery store, you know, for us to consume. But so many people along the line. You look at the potential for the dangers of forest fires and wildfires that would strike communities. We already have, as you know, a water dilemma in our state. And to be compounded with no snowpack, it really is a crisis. We also believe, but it's a natural crisis that indicates a spiritual need. That throughout the Bible, there are numerous prayers for rain. But those prayers for rain are accompanied by an awareness that's grown in the community that just as the need for rain is something that human ability cannot produce by its own power or wisdom, so much else that impacts the quality of true life can't be done apart from the help of God. And so the need for rain has oftentimes turned communities to re-engage in their need for God.
Are we talking about the word repentance here, David?
You know, I think that repentance is a great word that summarizes the process of taking accountability, that we've been created as creatures of free will, and our choices count. They impact us and everybody around us. And to take accountability for that and admit where we have not made good choices, and at the same time to look for a fresh direction, to have a change of mind. Can there be a new heart and a new spirit in how we approach life together as a community, which results in God's assistance and blessing upon us?
I just want to insert here, Tina, please stay tuned for our last segment, because we are going to talk about that fresh start in the way we use water and misuse water here in California, and we're doing a lot of that, and we're going to address that. But David, I was so struck by just the the unity among Catholic, Protestant,
Yes,
evangelical, charismatic, traditionalists, all coming together in one place. Speak to that.
Well, don't you think it's about time?
Yeah.
Yes. You know, I, as a pastor of a congregation, I know that it is my responsibility with the leaders of our local church to determine out of our read of Scripture and our year towards the Lord, what is best for our individual congregation. And that may differ from congregation to congregation. In fact, I think that communities thrive when there's a diversity in families so that you can find the family that resonates best with your personal needs. But there's a time to lay all of that aside. And actually, Don, you mentioned the word repentance. Part of that repentance is saying, I've allowed issues that are not critical to separate me from building relationships with people unlike myself. And a need for something as basic as water reduces us to, you know, we all need God's help. And we're all not as right as we think. And so why don't we just get together and find the common ground at the foot of the cross in which mercy is available for all.
So we're in desperate measures right now then.
You know, we are. And unfortunately, what should be just the encouragement to love one another sometimes does take a crisis or a desperate measure to draw us to take action and leave the normal patterns of our life. And, you know, all of us are busy, our schedules are full, but perhaps they've gotten too full. And the Lord is saying here, remember you're in need of me, and remember that you're called to love each other.
As a newsman, the only thing I can compare this to was the spontaneous service that filled Robobank right after 9/11, when the entire city and all the churches came together to affirm one another and to stand together. And I think this is comparable to that. But I think what the public doesn't know is that behind the scenes, it wasn't pastors and religious people that did it. It was two journalists. Two journalists, very well-known, prominent journalists, whose name we can't mention because, you know, their bosses said not good to do that. But it was their initiative. Tell us about that without mentioning, betraying any confidences.
You know, one of the strengths of our community, in my estimation, has been how many people involved in journalism and in the news media are very active in their practice of faith. And I received a call from a well-known local journalist saying that individual had been researching a lot of the implications of this drought and really felt an urgency. Our community needs to get together and pray. Then we begin to hear on the radio from another journalist's voice a similar intent. And so through that individual and their pastor, a couple of us came together one evening at one of the homes of one of the pastors here in town, and the four of us just sat around and said, can we bring something together in a short amount of time? And so it does take an entire community to lead a community. And it takes an entire community to lead a community spiritually. And so I think we do need to listen to much more to the voice of those that are involved in other spheres of influence around our community to really hear the heart of God and also understand the needs of our community that He desires to meet.
What's the difference between 1,000 people praying individually in their homes or wherever they go to pray, and 1,000 people coming together in one place and praying? What's the difference?
I think that there's a couple things that make it exceptionally powerful. It's probably, on the one hand, the same difference between watching the Lakers lose in the privacy of your own home or having a collective grieving experience with many down at the Staples Center. There is something about that shared flesh next to flesh energy that enhances it and intensifies that experiences and maybe focuses us in terms of a spiritual gathering. There's also, to me, just a wonderful promise in Scripture that prayer, the effectiveness of prayer is multiplied by agreement, and particularly when that agreement includes more diversity. So if I'm praying with someone that I have to humble my self-interest and my way of doing things to come into agreement with them, I believe that's honoring of God in a different way than praying with somebody just out of my own background or my own comfort zone. And I think that's one of the wonderful things about this upcoming Sunday evening is that there is truly a a great diversity in those that will be leading prayers and those that will be praying as part of the gathering that I think sends a signal to heaven. We're serious about this because we're willing to lay aside a lot of what has traditionally divided us.
Yes.
I think you really stand in the tradition of the founder of our country, George Washington, because in his writings and speeches and other outlets, he repeatedly emphasized that our independence was not won by the patriotism of our people. It was not won by the support of our Congress, and it was not even won by the sacrifices and heroism of our troops. It was won directly by the signal interventions of God acting in favor of the American cause. And of all men in history, he stood at the vantage point to see God's hand reach down and rescue this land in its most perilous times and grant us our independence so that we might use our freedom for his good work. So I truly believe in the power of what you're doing. I hope to be there with you that night. And so why don't you just put out an invitation to everyone around it to come.
Our invitation is to our entire community to come together and seek God to help our entire community with this issue. We need the snowpack restored. We need rain to come, and rain to come in a way that doesn't injure the current fields that are in vulnerable conditions, but we need it to come and replenish the waterways and particularly fill the snowpack. Sunday evening, 6 p.m. at Harvey Auditorium at Bakersfield High School downtown. It'd be wonderful to see numbers from our community get together and pray for rain.
Well, commendations on all the pastors and congregations that are joining and all those behind the scenes who've made this happen. David, thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much for being with us, and thank you all. We'll be back in just a moment.
Introducing TBC Mobile from the Bakersfield, California. The most complete news, sports, weather, video, opinion, and lifestyle coverage in Bakersfield and Kern County. It's the easiest way to stay up to date on all things local while on the go. Read it on your smartphone or tablet. Download now by searching Bakersfield Californian in the Apple, Google, and Amazon app stores. Kern Business Journal contains news and information from local business leaders and organizations. Topics include agriculture, health and medical, energy, real estate, and more. Visit KernBusinessJournal.com to find out how to subscribe or where to pick up a free copy. To inquire about advertising in the bi-monthly Business Journal, call 395-7586. Find us online on Facebook and Twitter, as well as on KernBusinessJournal.com.
Save 50 to 90% with the Bakersfield Californian's Daily Deal featured on Bakersfield.com. A daily deal is offered each weekday on services from local restaurants, dry cleaners, health and beauty services, retail shops, and local activities for the entire family. The Daily Deal is 100% local. Find these amazing deals only at dailydeal.bakersfield.com.
I'm Lisa Kirsch. Coming up Wednesday on Live Well, Kids and Manners. An etiquette expert is joining us on set to boost mealtime niceties. You don't want to miss that. We're also going to explore adult communities in and around the Bakersfield area, and the Moms Roundtable is back. Kids and their significant others, how to deal with heartbreak, with puppy love, and with the crush. We will see you coming up Wednesday on Live Well, only on Bakersfield.com.
The Bakersfield Californian is a great read on the iPad, but did you know that the Bakersfield Californian is available on your Kindle Fire? Or how about Google's Nexus 7, the Nook? You bet. You can also read a full replica of the newspaper on your Android-powered smartphone, on Apple's iPhone, or on your laptop. We have a solution for any device. E-Edition is free for subscribers, or just $7.99 a month. The Bakersfield Californian. We're everywhere and anytime. Subscribe today. Bakersfield.com.
Welcome back, everyone, all of our viewers. Before we leave the subject of praying for rain, Father Craig Harrison, leader of St. Francis Catholic Church here, has advised all of his 7,000 families that are members of that church. You come to that prayer session, bring your umbrella. Well, that's faith. Bring your umbrella.
Yes, and I think we'll be bringing ours. Dawn, before we move on, I would like to thank Chuck and Wendy Noss at Nature's Food Market and Juice Bar. We have something so delicious. I'm hiding mine right now because
so healthy.
Yes, delicious and healthy. And they've got some great things coming up in their future. We'll talk about it later. But wonderful. We have here Jennifer Pritchard and Chad Hathaway of Kern. Let me get this right.
Citizens for Sustainable Government.
Thank you. I was going to put my glasses on here.
Right.
Kern Citizens for Sustainable Government. And Dawn, you met Jennifer at
Downtown
meeting.
Rotary, and what I heard, I said, "Boy, everyone needs to know about this." And,
yes, and here they are.
Everyone right now is so concerned about government. Is it out of control? And is it responsive to the citizens anymore? Is it just going its own way? Is it just serving special interests and not the common interests? So tell us why you formed this organization and what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, sure. About 3 years ago, three local guys, myself, J.P. Lake, and Patrick Wade, we decided, we looked at Kern County. Kern County has a $2.6 billion a year annual budget. City of Bakersfield over $500 million a year. And there really wasn't any local groups. We knew that at the state level there really wasn't, we couldn't make a profound impact. But we knew that locally we probably could make an impact. And we knew there was a need for a group out there to actually kind of not necessarily hold government accountable, but that really is a big part of what we do. Right. But also focus on a few key issues and not get kind of diluted out. And so we formed Kern Citizens, and it was formed as a 501c4, which is an issue advocacy group. And our goal was to become an opinion leader. And then after time went on, we actually hired Jennifer to be our full-time liaison, and Jennifer gets involved. We have three really areas that we really focus on. One is pension reform. We're very concerned about the future obligations we have to our county employees and our city employees, and making sure that we have the ability to fulfill that, and also keep government going. And also education reform is something we've locally looked into. We feel there's a lack of leadership at some of the board levels throughout. There's a lot of school boards throughout. I happen to be a member of one of them, so I know there's a lot of them out in Kern County that we're going to start intervening and talking, asking questions. And also privatization is another issue that we look at as well. Any kind of services that can be privatized that don't necessarily need to be done by a government agency, we look at things like that, and we really champion them. And we've done just a broad variety of things as well outside of those three scopes over the last several years. But it's been very rewarding, a very rewarding experience.
Chad, you want to become an opinion leader. Is the media paying attention to what you're doing when you come out with statements? Have you found a voice in the public arena, Jennifer?
Yeah, I think so. We maintain a good relationship with all the media outlets here in Bakersfield and throughout the county. And they've been very helpful, very well received, and they're really helping us get the message out and educating the public. And you can't really do that without a platform that's provided by the media.
Chad, you and your other two key guys in this, you're all working guys and have jobs of your own. I mean, where do you find the time to take on this kind of responsibility?
Well, it's Jennifer's a tremendous help to us. She's there. She's full-time into this. There's a lot of meetings. There's a lot of different committee meetings that are involved. As you know, the council meets regularly. The Board of Supervisors meets regularly. There's all these different ancillary groups that have to be monitored. There's 42 departments in the county alone. And so you in order to kind of effectively be there, you really got to hit the high points and focus on a few things. Otherwise, you get really diluted. But Jennifer does a phenomenal job. We have an advisory board of 12 people that it's all on our website. 12 people that are all very, very influential people in the community that represent large businesses, some small businesses, just different walks of life. And they're also a sounding board to us as well. And they all kind of have their ear to the ground and say, these are things we should look at. It's a weekly, we usually every week do an opt-ed, or we submit an opt-ed at least once a month to see if that goes. But like you said earlier, getting back to the media aspect of this, as you know, media has pared down and things have constricted it. I mean, look at the size of the newspaper now versus what it was 10 years ago. Right. Groups like ours help fulfill the void that the investigative reporters of yesterday were able to do. They're able to dive in and look into these specific issues and expose them. Guys like us have come in and kind of filled that gap.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. So you have your organization is an educational organization as well as
investigatory.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say that we're at what's called an issue advocacy organization. We're not expressed advocacy. There's differences because our group can't say vote for so and so or vote for this. We talk about the issues.
Right. Okay.
We can't specifically endorse any particular candidate or anything like that. We talk about the issues and we educate people on the issues because at the end of the day, that's what it's really all about.
Right.
Chad, are you pioneering new ground, or are you one of the first groups of its kind in California, or are there other groups like yours that you're modeling after?
Well, go ahead, Jennifer.
There are other groups throughout California. Some in the Lincoln Club in Orange County, for example. There's other groups. However, there's I believe we're the only one in Kern County that's of our structure.
And you have a fundraiser. Do you have a fundraiser each year?
We do. We have quarterly. Our board member, each board member hosts a quarterly, which is a small get together, and we do things, and we put on a presentation and show what we've accomplished over the last year. And then we speak at different groups around town, like Rotary. But then we have a big annual fundraiser, which is on May 22nd, which we partner with the Ronald Reagan Library and the Ronald Reagan Foundation, and hope to have about 500 people at that event. But that's May 22nd, and we're really looking forward to.
Will that be here or at the library?
It's going to be here. Reagan Foundation is actually getting really involved locally in educational programs that kind of help champion, Ronald Reagan and his legacy. And so they haven't reached out to Bakersfield, and we're right over the hill. I mean, so there's a lot of a strong desire by them to to get established in Kern County. Our goal is, we are completely a nonpartisan organization, but Ronald Reagan, I think, crossed the party lines on a lot of things that make sense to what our true fundamentals are, and so for us, the majority of the event is to emphasize their presence and also give them some exposure locally and expose them to our base of people as well.
Well, now that you've been dealing in the public arena, I can't resist this. I have to just share a story, and I want your reaction to it. It was the head of the prison guards unit, the man who built the correctional guards into the most powerful union in California. And when he retired, he was a man who'd been in Army intelligence. He had an exit interview, and the reporter asked him, "How did you do this? How did you create the most powerful union in California?" And he said it was very simple. He said, I quickly figured out that the mentality of our lawmakers in Sacramento is exactly the mentality of our inmates in our prisons. It's the same games. It's the same manipulation. It's the same self-interest, self-serving interest. What do you think about that?
I think, the thing is people want to blame the unions. The unions didn't create this problem. A lot of times we work on both sides with the unions. Like, we've seen things happen locally that didn't make any sense at all. Like, public officials electing to give themselves pay raise while at the same time cutting pay of the public employees. And stuff like that is just absurd. Politicians put us in this place. Politicians have to fix it, but they need people to help them do that. And they need people to help them give the public opinion in the right direction. So it's not always on both sides of the union, but I completely agree with that statement. Completely agree with it.
Sad, isn't it?
It is.
Sad. Yeah.
And so what do you need? What type of help do you need from the community?
You bet.
We just need people to get involved with Kern Citizens, follow what we're doing. We've got a website, kerncitizens.org.
Can we put that up, Chris? Yes. Do we have that right now?
And
we don't have that. Okay.
Not quite yet. And sign up for our newsletter. Like us on Facebook. We've got all the social media outlets. But we want to just educate the public on what's going on. I try to put all the issues, very complicated issues, I try to put it in the simplest, condensed form as I can, so that people are just, can quickly understand and are aware of what's going on in Kern County.
Give us your contact information once more. We didn't get it down to put on the screen, so I want everyone to be able to get that.
Yeah, our website is kerncitizens.org, and all of our contact information is on there, my phone number and our mailing address as well.
Well, we're going to take a break now, but when we come back, we're going to talk about what's being done with California's water by many cities in this state that is just absolutely irresponsible, and that needs to be fixed because we're destroying our own waterways and fouling our shorelines, and we're going to come back and talk about that.
Good. Thank you, Kern Citizens, for a sustainable government.
Introducing TBC Mobile from the Bakersfield, California. The most complete news, sports, weather, video, opinion and lifestyle coverage in Bakersfield and Kern County. It's the easiest way to stay up to date on all things local while on the go. Read it on your smartphone or tablet. Download now by searching Bakersfield Californian in the Apple, Google, and Amazon app stores. Kern Business Journal contains news and information from local business leaders and organizations. Topics include agriculture, health and medical, energy, real estate, and more. Visit KernBusinessJournal.com to find out how to subscribe or where to pick up a free copy. To inquire about advertising in the bi-monthly Business Journal, call 395-7586. Find us online on Facebook and Twitter, as well as on KernBusinessJournal.com.
Hi, Corey Costello here, host of Roadrunner Rundown, Tuesdays 10 to 11 right here on Bakersfield.com. Join us this week for a special live edition of the program from the CESUB Student Union. We'll have the pep band, the spirit squads. We'll talk men's basketball with head coach Rod Barnes. Also, baseball's in town, so we'll speak with head coach Bill Kernan and much, much more. It's a special on-location edition of Roadrunner Rundown, Tuesday 10 to 11 right here on Bakersfield.com.
The Bakersfield Californian is a great read on the iPad, but did you know that the Bakersfield Californian is available on your Kindle Fire? Or how about Google's Nexus 7, the Nook? You bet! You can also read a full replica of the newspaper on your Android-powered smartphone, on Apple's iPhone, or on your laptop. We have a solution for any device. E-Edition is free for subscribers, or just $7.99 a month. The Bakersfield Californian, we're everywhere and anytime. Subscribe today, Bakersfield.com.
Save 50 to 90% with the Bakersfield Californian's Daily Deal featured on Bakersfield.com. A daily deal is offered each weekday on services from local restaurants, dry cleaners, health and beauty services, retail shops, and local activities for the entire family. The Daily Deal is 100% local. Find these amazing deals only at dailydeal.bakersfield.com.
And welcome back, everyone. This is Open Up. We've had a fabulous show so far, and we are about to hear from our good words. And this
it's our counterpart to Crocodile Dundee.
Yes. Don, I have to tell you really quickly. I've met him before briefly, but I went in your wildest dreams the other day. Walked in, and there he was. There he was, and I approached him, and he was just very open and willing to come on and do our good word. So this is John Thompson, and he is with Brumbies Run Australian Stock Horses, and he's also a 6th grade school teacher. So welcome, John.
Hey, g'day. Thank you very much, Don and Tina. It's great to be here. I don't know that you want to tell too many people that I was in your wildest dreams. That's probably not the way to go with that. Yeah, Tina asked me to come in and give a few good words, so I thought about it, and what I came back to was what my mother told me when I was a very, very young boy. Went to school the very first day, and she said to me, "How was school?" I said, "I hated it. Hated it. You needn't bother sending Luke. He won't like it either." So from that day on, I had a love-hate relationship with school. I thought it was horrible, no reason to go there, hated every moment of being in school. And one day my mum came to me and she said, "Listen, John, you're going to go to school. You're going to be there. It's up to you whether you enjoy it or not." And that was kind of a turning point for me, because in our life we have circumstances, and what we focus on tells us whether or not we're going to enjoy it or not. So there I was at school. I wanted to get out of it, couldn't get out of it. So it's up to me to enjoy it or not. Find the good in school or hate every moment being there. I'm a school teacher now, and I look around in my classroom, got all the kids out there, and some people tell you, oh, the kids today are just rotten. They're bad. This is going on. Oh, there's gang violence. There's drugs going on. Yep, there's a little bit of that. But the majority of the kids on the playground are out there playing. They don't look at each other's race. They don't really care whether it's boy or girl. They're out there having a really, really good time. And if anybody really thinks that schools are really bad, they probably should go and look on a playground and see about 95 to 98% of the kids having a really good time, laughing, smiling, enjoying each other. So it comes back to your focus. What are you focusing on? Are you focusing on all the bad things that are going on in your life? Or are you sitting there looking at all the good things, all the opportunities? People will say, oh, the parents don't care. Nah, they do. They care a lot. They're sending the very, very best thing that they have, their child, the one that they love. They're sending that kid to school, and they want us to take a really, really good job and do the best job that we can with them. So my good words are, it's not a lost cause. Yeah, there's bad things going on. But wherever we see bad things going on, there's also good things going on. And we can get a lot of encouragement by looking at those kids, looking at the good things going on around us, and say, it's not lost. It's not bad. We've got a lot of things that we can be really, really happy for. Lesson learned from my mum when I was a little kid. It's up to you to enjoy what you're doing. Thank you very much.
What great words. What great
really?
Words from a great guy.
I was going to say, Don, what a great guy, huh?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, John.
It's wonderful, wonderful.
Oh, wow.
Well, here we want to get right to Ed Davis. Ed, I hope you all know him by now. He's been with us and has really become our guru on so many things. And we're talking about just the travesty that is going on in the way we deal with our water here in California, fouling our own waterways, ruining our own shoreline, the quality of water. Take it away, Ed.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. This is kind of a continuum of last week because there's so much to talk about here. I didn't get to say last week that agriculture is currently and has for years been losing at least 100,000 acres a year simply because there isn't enough water and other restrictions that have happened to agriculture in the San Joaquin Valley. And in this current year, the end of 2014, regardless of whether we get the big rain and all need to walk around with umbrellas, we're going to lose in California about 150,000 acres this year in agriculture. While the population continues to expand in a very, very exponential way, it continues to dramatically tax our antiquated water system that we have here in California, which really hasn't had any major projects done and okayed and moved forward in relevancy and from the mountains here just south of us all the way to Northern California for 50 years. So our water systems that are in place here can handle far less of the population than is currently here, and we continue to expand every day. So there's just been one problem after another where there was talk of the peripheral canal and many other water projects over the last few years, but because of the nonsense going on in Sacramento with regard to our political people not being able to get along with each other, again, nothing has been done in 50 years while we've had this exponential population explosion here in California. So that kind of falls in place with the thing that I wanted to talk about today, which we sort of started to go into it this last week. But if we can have the slides come up on the screen, please, I can talk about this a little bit better. The top picture there basically is the pH of water. And if you don't know what pH is, it has to do with the relevancy of the acidic versus base nature in all environments. And the green there, which is well away from us, as you can see, California and all of the other areas that are related to our area, is turning pink right along the shoreline, and then around Baja California, it jumps out into the ocean, and then the pink area is by far the lowest pH, And then the blue jetting out there on the top slide is negatively affected pH actually going out into the ocean and turning light blue, and then negatively affecting much of the water. So that all is contamination that is coming from water that has come off of our populated areas and going out into the ocean and following currents and just kind of meandering out into the water. And when you look into the other areas, you can see around India, they have a lot of problems there. And when you look at the Mediterranean Sea, it's blasted. It's just in terrible, terrible condition from the same exact problem. But look where most of the contamination is in the world. Most of it emanates from the effluent that leaves our toilets here up and down the California coast and simply goes out into the ocean once it has gone through a treatment. So we have somewhere in the neighborhood of 1.35 billion gallons of water a day leaving California heading for the ocean. And the old thought process is if you have a 10-to-1 ratio, 1 gallon of effluent to 10 gallons of water, it's going to be okay. Well, you know, here we are all agriculturalists here in the San Joaquin Valley who continually get lambasted for our negative activities towards the environment. And if you look at this, who clearly is contaminating the world? It's cities up and down our California coastline that, in fact, dump effluent every day into the ocean. And the unfortunate reality is that pink and blue is the ammonia load coming from the effluent. So it's really a very, very difficult thing for us to understand here in the San Joaquin Valley why we don't do anything environmentally negative towards the environment. And unfortunately, our California coastline just is a terrible, terrible contaminant of the world. The next slide down is the relationship of CO2, carbon dioxide, in the water. The air that we breathe has 1% CO2. Basically, the air that we breathe is 75% N2 gas, 12% oxygen, and 1% CO2. In the areas where the ocean is healthy, the CO2 level is in fact blue or green and looks good. Look at the contamination emanating from our water discharge from California, and the second slide down, the pH and also the CO2. What are we doing to our ocean, to the Pacific Ocean? It's just absolutely, undeniably terrible what is happening with regard to our antiquated water system here in California and what we're doing to the ocean. So, you know, we hear so much about the negatives of the environmental impact reports, but this is unbelievable.
What color is the contamination in the second slide?
The contamination on the CO2 gas ranges down on the bottom is very bad as orange, and yellow is pretty darn bad. Ooh. And the blue is where it's supposed to be. So again, tie that directly to the pH of the top, and it clearly tells you that this effluent that we are discharging on a daily basis that follows the coastline and then jumps out once it get down into Mexico and Guatemala and South America.
Ed, we've got 3 minutes. Let's bring this closer to home. You've used a very descriptive phrase that our Delta water up in the Sacramento Delta has become a toilet. Tell us about that.
Well, each and every one of the major municipalities up and down the Delta and the San Joaquin River and the Sacramento River and every one of those tributaries that actually head for the ocean has been for a long time the way that they get rid of effluent. And again, the exponential growth of populations have put us in a situation where we are dumping copious amounts of this effluent into the water every day. Conversely, here in the San Joaquin Valley, it is absolutely illegal for us to dump anything into any waterways at all. We have to consume our own effluent. Just like here in Bakersfield, we have our own 1,200-acre farm. So all of the effluent coming from our area here goes to the water treatment plant, then goes out as irrigation water to non-food crops such as cotton and alfalfa.
Is there any corrective legislation being proposed in Sacramento to make other cities do what we do and clean up our own water?
I should hope that with the efforts and energies that all of us need to put into this, we can actually get people turned in that direction, because it desperately needs to be done, and it is not being done now, and it's just something that just isn't talked about, and it needs to be screamed about.
And the media, where's the media in this? They just...
So, well, how do we get this in the media? I don't know, but these pictures that I've just shown here that clearly define the contamination are all third party, they're all government pictures, and what are we doing about these things collectively? Right now, nothing.
Okay. Ed, thank you so much. And, you know, maybe we can help get the word out. 4 months ago, when we started, Tina and I had 500 viewers here, and now we're told we've got 10,000. So we're growing, and so perhaps we can grow an influence toward the good.
Yeah, we're so excited about our show today. Thanks to Steve Lloyd, our business sponsor, and Ed Davis, our Good Words, John Thompson, and so many more and others. We look forward to next week, huh, Don?
You bet, you bet.
Thanks to Denise and Chuck.
Have a
Thank
great
you.
week.